Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting live from St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on rawauctions.com, as they are the host of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on youtube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions. We have our first caller right now. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Patrick Pilati.
Hey, Patrick. How are you doing, sir?
Just fine. How are you?
Well, good. It's a great Friday here in Florida. Now, you're from California, and I want to thank you right now. I know it's 3 hours earlier, so again, thank you for getting up early and talking to us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, if you will.
Okay. I'm the CEO for LFI Analytics. We're a firm that, since 2007, has been highly involved, first off, in the foreclosure issues representing homeowners, and then actually modifying the business model so that we represent both homeowners and lenders, amazingly enough, in various litigation-type aspects, usually with lenders, bank versus bank. We're focusing now on how to resolve the foreclosure crisis and the upcoming housing crisis that's occurring by trying to develop cooperative plans, not only with lenders, but also develop programs that will allow investors to gain confidence back in securitized products and build on it from there.
Okay. What part of California are you from?
The Bay Area.
The Bay Area.
Yeah, just outside of it, in one of the hardest hit areas in the country for foreclosures.
Okay. What's your background prior to this? How did you get into trying to help, what seems like no one can help, this promoting the housing recovery and foreclosures? Give us a little background on yourself.
I spent 12 years doing actual mortgage lending, primarily A-paper, on occasion, and Alt-A.
This is let me explain to you that this is a show listened to by real estate investors and brokers and bankers and real estate media, but also the general public. So when you say A-paper, what does that mean?
Okay, these were the good borrowers, the ones who had no issues or anything of that nature. The Alt-A was a borrower who could not generally document income, otherwise they would have been A-paper as we know it.
Okay, very good.
What happened is in 2007, we saw the beginning of the crisis hitting out here hard, much later, of course, than in Florida. And I had clients coming to me that wanted to save their homes, but they had no options. So I teamed up with a couple of attorneys who basically used me as a paralegal for a long period of time for free, but it was the best thing that could have happened because I learned the ins and outs. I developed the first predatory lending type audits out here on the West Coast, which a lot of my work is now found in what everyone else claims to do. But I recognized very early on that most of the homeowners, even if they could stall the foreclosure, would eventually end up losing it. And it became very frustrating, and that's when I started looking at, instead of trying to save the homeowners, how are we going to get ourselves dug out of this mess, and how do we prevent it in the future?
You gave us a term, predatory lending. What is that?
Predatory lending is claimed, and notice I use the word claimed, by homeowner advocates as being the root of all the problems. And predatory lending would be taking advantage of the homeowner, putting them into high interest rate loans that they could not afford to repay, and therefore they were going to lose the homes. And a lot of people will use this as a basis of claiming it was an absolute conspiracy on the part of lenders.
Well, it's amazing, and there's a lot of people out there that have bought houses, and I mean the amount of paperwork that you need to sign, and you really don't know what you're signing, to be honest. You've got the title person there, the closing agent, the other broker, two brokers, and it's kind of like, sign here, sign here, sign here. Someday we need to make that a little bit more simplified, I think.
Oh, absolutely so. But the problem was that the first line of defense for the homeowner broke down. That was a realtor and the loan officer. They were interested in one thing only, obtaining the commission.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of them violated, or I shouldn't say every one, but the majority violated their fiduciary duty to the client.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to put the client's best interest in front of their own interest, and that did not occur. I was actually in a deposition on Tuesday whereby that issue was first and foremost. And a 65-year-old man had $1,000 a month income, talked into taking a loan on his property, which was free and clear, for $435,000, providing that money to people who wanted to open a winery, and the loan officer let the guy do it, knowing full well because he was also representing the winery.
Mm-hmm.
This type of behavior happened all the time, and that's where everything broke down.
Well, I think also, many people, like you said, because in that 206, 207 area, prices were just going up sky high in California and Florida, and it was a matter of, as a listing broker, people would ask you to list it at a number that you knew that you couldn't get right away, but if you left it on the market for a couple of months, you might actually get that number because everything was going up. It was kind of a bidding war. So how does that affect California and Florida and the rest of the world as it relates to where we are now?
Absolutely, it affected it. It was incredible. You could list a house on the market out here, and at 500,
mm-hmm.
and within 2 days, it would have been bid up to 600,000. And a large part of it was a media too, who was focusing on all these stories, and it led the impression if you don't buy now, you will never buy.
Right.
There were many of us who knew it couldn't be sustained, especially because we saw what was happening in Florida back as early even as 2004.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a mania. That's the only way to put it, sort of like the tulip manias that occurred in Belgium back in, I believe, the 1500s. People just went absolutely wacko is the only term I would use for it. But I've done over 10,000 exams between myself and my staff of homeowners. It's incredible, however, the number of them that actually were willing victims and the number of people who were investors who wanted to buy multiple properties and become the Donald Trumps of real estate at the residential level. And this has been the frustrating part because they're the first ones to claim foul now, even though they knew what they were doing.
Right. Well, it seemed as though, the banks weren't giving out that much for interest, and the stock market was kind of crazy, and what it sounds like now. But it seemed like for the buyer that real estate was going up so fast. This is how he was going to do his retirement. This is what he was going to buy, a bigger house than maybe he can afford, but it was going up so fast that this was his retirement plan in a way for, I'm going to say 3, 4, 5 years, and it's never been like that. It's always been, single-family homes were where you live, and that was the most important thing, not an investment to flip and then reinvest into another big home, and it was mania, just like you said.
Oh, absolutely so. But the ones who should have known better, they didn't pay attention to the market, and they were more concerned about making the commissions.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you the number of times I had a loan officer for Wells Fargo call me up, can you put me or one of my clients into a program because we cannot get them financed. It would be 700 credit scores, stated income, and I would ask them, what do you do for a living? I do in-home care nursing. What is the amount you take home per month? Because I know you're not declaring taxes. And they'd say, no, I'm not declaring taxes, and I make $4,000 a month. Yet they're wanting to buy $600,000 homes.
Huh.
I'd simply say, go elsewhere. I'm not even touching you.
Right.
But the typical loan officer would have said, okay, we'll just run stated income. You make $10,000 per month. You are a nursing assistant.
Mm-hmm.
This happened all the time. I saw a room attendant in Marriott, meaning the housekeeping, making $7,800 a month on one and a half.
It was crazy, but I guess the point is, where are we now, and how can we get better?
That's a problem. There's so many factors that are involved right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first issue is that, according to both LPS and CoreLogic, who are major information gatherers for the industry,
Mm-hmm.
there are 6.9 million homes that are delinquent. These can be anywhere from 30 days to 90 days, but once a home goes delinquent, 90% likelihood they're going to default and be lost. Now, that incredible number, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just assume 6 million homes right there.
Right.
If you look at National Association of Realtor statistics, they're saying 4.5 to 5 million homes will be sold this year. CoreLogic and others have proven their numbers in error and are saying about 3 million, of
Okay.
which 1 million will be foreclosure sales.
Okay.
That means right there we've got a 6-year supply, not including REO inventory, that has to be worked through. Next, you have to factor in, 28% of the homes are underwater. Once they go underwater by more than 125%, they're eventually going to default. We know home values are going to drop another 15 to 20%. That's going to add to it.
Who tells us that it's going to drop another 15, 20%?
Case Schiller,
Okay.
who has been absolutely right on for the most part. Those others of us, like I believe, we're going to see 30 to 40% because he does not factor in other things which I look at. And I'm a little bit more negative anyway because this morning, just before I called, I was looking at the Census Bureau data statistics
Mm-hmm.
for 2010
Right.
and came up with some very surprising numbers, to say the very least. In the 55 through up category,
Mm-hmm.
that has 77% home ownership,
Wow.
which is understandable because of the deaths of people driving it up. But typically, we should be at a 64% home ownership rate that the economy will support. When I look from 20 years old up to 34 years old combined, we're probably at no more than 25% home ownership, and that's the only place where everything can be increased. So as the baby boom generation dies,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be absolutely, if we're lucky, they will keep up with the deaths of baby boomers. But if the economy turns down with 20% down payment requirements, there's no way that these people are going to be able to support buying homes, and we're likely to see home values drop a lot more based upon that alone.
I'm going to, I'd like you to tell people how to get a hold of you. We have to take a break right at the half hour, so I want to make sure to get your information out there. We're going to talk a little bit more, but how can people reach you? Because you've got some fascinating stuff here.
I can be reached at 925-522-0371 or going through my website at lfi-analytics.com. And the email address would be Patrick with a CK at loanfraudinvestigations.com.
Okay. I have had guests on the show kind of say that the home ownership boom, where it was, the American dream, that might have changed just in the last few years, and there's going to be more people who cannot afford houses, and therefore more renters. This is why multifamily is going sky high, because the investors are getting multifamily in apartments and renting them out. Do you believe that's true, or is the government going to step in and give us another program where they're going to help homeowners or renters basically become homeowners?
The government's going to try and do that, but the people, quite frankly, cannot qualify. I've created a new program which will absolutely numerically and quantitatively define default risk. And the people I'm looking at, and new people, they cannot qualify for these loans under this program. Mm-hmm. And the program and evaluation basically goes back to underwriting standards that we were held to in the 1970s, which is what's needed.
Right.
You cannot get away with 45% debt ratios any longer, as has been proven.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anecdotally, to give you an idea, when you say about people maybe not wanting to go back to house buying, my kids are the perfect example. They got transferred up to Oregon, short selling the house here, and as soon as they got up there and they rented a home, all of a sudden their attitudes changed. This is great. We don't have to worry about property taxes. We don't have to worry about maintenance and repairs. We can enjoy our weekends now. We're not tied to the home. I bailed out myself in 2006 in the market and have been renting since.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I don't have to worry about all these headaches. So there's a flip side of the coin.
Right. Oh, for sure. Tell us, do you think the government is doing what they should be doing right now, or what do you suggest?
The government is screwing up every which way in the world. I've written several articles lately for ML Explode. That's the sister site for ML Implode, which you have probably seen that Aaron Crown runs. And my latest was a 3-part series of articles in which I've gone into how to promote housing recovery. The government is a major part of the problem, and I emphasize one of the first things you have to do is put people back to work. That means get the heck out of the way, let new businesses start,
right.
Reduce
Mm-hmm.
income taxes for them. Give them a chance to grow, because the first year of any business, you're worried about putting food on the table.
Oh, for sure.
Second year, you worry about paying taxes. Give them a break. Then I argue that I actually put a method in which we can balance the budget realistically. Instead of this 8% mandatory increase in budgets every year, make it 2%. You'll still get your increase, and let an improved economy running at 5% gross national product increase it will go ahead and balance a budget in 7 to 10 years. And I had some of the top financial people in the country that I worked with on that particular idea, just coming up, throwing ideas around. Then, as well, you may have seen the new qualified residential mortgage program coming out that they're wanting by Fannie Mae.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest sham of all. It's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac once again trying to capture the bulk of the market, and whoever doesn't qualify there would end up going to FHA. Right now, we have 95% of all loans being done by FHA or Fannie and Freddie, government programs. We've got to get the private sector back involved, but the government's not addressing that at all. That's where we're going to go ahead and promote housing recovery. And in the case of foreclosures, we have to have a shift in our attitudes with the attorneys who are working for the homeowner. Right now, it's an adversarial relationship. We can't have that. My best attorneys that I work with are using the threat of litigation, but immediately turning it into a common ground sort of thing whereby they work together, both sides, in order to get homeowners modified.
Patrick, we're going to have to cut you off. I thank you so much for calling, especially since you're calling in from California 3 hours early. Patrick, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll get you on at another time.
My pleasure doing it, Doug.
All right. Take care, Patrick.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye. Okay. Great interview again. Mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. Okay, we are back. This is National Real Estate Auction Radio, and we broadcast live every Friday from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. We have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Doug, Corey Ledbetter with Anderson Realty. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Corey. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Well, good. Are you traveling today, or are you in the home office?
Now, traveling today. Okay. Traveling across the Southeast.
Okay, very good. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself, Corey.
Corey Ledbetter. I'm with Anderson Realty out of Dennison, Florida, and been in the business for about 8 or 9 years now. Loving every minute of it.
For those of the people who don't know where Destin, Florida is, tell us where that is.
We're kind of up in the northwest Florida, in the Panhandle.
Panhandle area. Okay.
What I always tell people is right smack dab in the middle between Pensacola and Panama City.
Excellent.
So that's where we mostly operate, from about the Alabama state line over to Tallahassee, but we can go all over, of course.
All right. And you're involved in auctions how?
I'm involved. I'm kind of the jack of all trades. I do a little bit of sales. Most of my background is in marketing, though. I take the project over and basically run it from start to finish for all the marketing campaigns and those issues.
Okay, very good. Matt Corso from MarkNet Alliance actually sent me an email. Matt, again, is one of the head honchos of MarkNet Alliance. How are you?
Right.
How are you and he involved?
We joined MarkNet about 3 years ago now,
mm-hmm.
and just a great group to be with. I believe we're up to about 38, 39 members now, and it's just a great group. The benefits, I could go on for forever talking about those, but it's just a real group of people, and it's all about bettering each other.
Well, their website has become a go-to source for real estate investors and people looking for auctions. I've seen their website do anything from 200 auctions at a given time to it actually went past 1,000 one time. So can you imagine going on a website and seeing that there are currently 1,000 auctions going on at the same time. Click here for the area that you want to go in. I mean, that's got to be a great thing for your company.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I tell all of our guys that's our biggest number one selling point right now when we go out to talk to a client is, hey, once you go into our system, you're going into 38 other systems, and these are companies that are constantly doing auctions weekly, monthly, and the amount of traffic that you get just by being put in there before we do anything else, before we take all the other steps and doing the brochures and the mail outs and newspaper ads, but instantly, as soon as you sign up with us, you go into this system. So it's just unbelievably, it's a powerful thing.
Well, it is. In fact, I was at their booth during the National Auctioneers Association convention a couple months ago in Orlando, and so I got to hear all of the good stuff. We actually did the radio show live from the booth, and 770,000 investors in their database who have registered. Not just a mailing list of people that have never registered or bought. These are
right.
I mean, a fantastic database. And then 440,000 people go onto their website each month, and that's
right.
That's strong. Unique
oh,
visitors.
Yeah.
Unique visitors. What kind of auctions do you do? And do you have anything coming up that we should tell our listeners about?
Of course, we're predominantly real estate down there, and we specialize in the luxury homes and condominiums, resort properties. But we do a little bit of everything. Right now, we've got, for example, we're doing an airplane hangar. It's located in Baker, Florida, which is about 45 minutes from the coastline, 45 minutes north of us, and it's located in a flying community. You got your airplane strip right there, fly right in and park your plane in your backyard and go right into your home. So we kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. We've also got, we've got an absolute auction on a waterfront lot in Gulf Breeze, Florida, which is just outside of Pensacola.
And what does an absolute auction mean, Corey?
Of course, that means selling regardless of price.
Regardless of price. That's a wonderful tool.
Oh, absolutely. It's a tough sell to sell the sellers up front.
Yep.
But once you get them committed to it, and then of course on the back end, I've never had one tell me that they weren't really pleased and happy that they made that decision.
It just makes sense that the more people that are interested in your property, the more competition, the more bidding, the higher the price, and I agree with you. It is a tough sell to tell sellers, but there's so much property out there, and
right.
Buyers have the opportunity to pick and choose what they're interested in, and it takes time to do your due diligence and to inspect and take out a cashier's check from your savings or an IRA. So it does take some time. So if you're a buyer, you're trying to figure out which ones should I really look into. So good for you. And the hangar, the airplane hangar, that sounds like a neat little auction. When's that going to take place?
That one, it's an online-only auction, and it's actually already open for bidding.
Okay.
On our website at AndersonRealtyUSA.com.
Okay.
And it will close out on September 29th at 5 o'clock Central Time.
Why don't you do the spelling for Anderson,
Sure.
the website, just so that people would know?
Absolutely. AndersonRealtyUSA.com.
Very good. Is there a telephone number people can get a hold of you, Corey?
Absolutely. Office number there in Destin is 850-654-5300.
Corey, thank you so much for calling in. Glad that you're a part of MarkNet Alliance, and good luck with your sales.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
Okay, we are back, and we have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Doug Dennison. This is Steve Rybell with the Kais Company.
Steve Rybell, great to hear your voice again. Tell us a little bit about the Kais Real Estate Company.
Well, the Kais Company is based in South Florida, founded in 1926 by a gentleman by the name of Ken Kais. Founded it in Miami, built it up during the Great Depression, and fast forward real quick to the 60s when our current ownership took over. A gentleman by the name of Theodore Pappas acquired the company in the 60s and built Kais to be one of the largest real estate companies in the country. And today we're actually ranked recently as the 45th largest real estate company in the United States.
Wow.
And that's quite interesting because we are a privately owned company. We are not a franchise. We're independently owned. So that's a little bit about the history of the Kais Company. Again, we're based in South Florida. We span from the Upper Keys to Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach County, Martin County. That's going up towards Palm Beach, Jupiter, and then even further north near Daytona Beach. There's a little area called New Smyrna Beach. We have an office up there. We've got about 1,800 associates selling real estate, residential and commercial real estate all throughout South Florida. So that's just a little bit about the Kais Company.
Well, excellent. How did you get into real estate? And I know you have an auction history, too. How did you get into all that?
It's interesting, Doug. When I graduated college in 1977, I graduated with a business degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And one of my father's friends, I grew up here in South Florida. I'm one of the only natives. There's not many people that you'll run into that say they're actually from South Florida. I was born in Miami Beach. And one of my dad's friends suggested that I think about a real estate career. And he actually said to me, he says, I have a friend at the Kais Company. And he says, I'll get you an interview and you go interview. So I actually had my first interview ever with the Kais Company in 1977. And I did not join the Kais Company at that time. I went off and I opened a real estate company with somebody else for a period of time. And then, quite by accident, I got introduced to the real estate auction business and fell in love with that business, and then eventually closed my real estate company to devote full-time in real estate auctions. And I think you know the name of the company. It's called Auction Company of America. That's the company that was founded by a gentleman by the name of Jim Gall, and went to work for Jim. And basically we were a South Florida-based auction company doing residential real estate, but also doing personal property. And then along comes a guy named Doug Dennison, and we, together with you, Doug, expanded Auction Company of America back in the 80s to be one of the largest real estate auction companies of the decade. Back then, doing a tremendous amount of FDIC government work. Again, thanks to you, Doug. You introduced that to the organization. So that's how I got into the auction business. Did that for many years, and then went off and had a consulting aspect of real estate auctions at a training program for realtors that I developed throughout the years. And the funny thing is, I was trying to sell it to real estate companies, and so I was prospecting, knocking on doors, and one company that I knew personally because they were headquartered in our same building, was the Kai's company. And so I set up a meeting with a gentleman by the name of Mike Pappas, who was president of the Kai's company, started a dialogue with Mike that lasted probably 6 months. And it turns out Mike Pappas is a much better salesman than I am, and he sold me on the Kai's company. And so that was 18 years ago, Doug, and I'm still here today. That's how I got into this side of the business, or the auction business.
Mike Pappas is definitely a good salesman, and great family to work for. I had the privilege of working with you and Mike Pappas for 4 years up in Boynton Beach, opening a couple offices there, and it was an excellent time for me, and thrilled that I was able to work with you again. We've done some auctions together, even when you were with Kai's and I with an auctioneer, actually Fisher Auction Company at the time. Some condos, some work down in Homestead. Do you remember the Homestead auction by any chance?
I do. I don't remember the name, but that property was a government auction,
yes,
as you'll recall.
Yes.
And there was a piece of property that, and you'll probably remember this better than I will. The property was owned by the government. It was I don't know how many acres, but it was wetlands.
Yeah. And
it had been on the market. They tried to sell it for a number of years, and they tried to auction it 1 or 2 times prior to you getting involved in it, was my recollection. And what I remember distinctly is the day of the auction, nobody thought that we would perhaps even get a bid, even though we had registered bidders, but it would maybe fetch $300,000, something around those lines. And when the bidding ceased, do you remember what it sold for?
I want to say $1.2 million. It was absolutely crazy.
Yep, that's exactly right. It sold for $1.2 million, and what was interesting about that type of an auction was the target marketing that you and Fisher and Kai's did to find, the buyers for that property. And we looked at that and said, well, what can you do with this property? And we all put our heads together and came up, well, this would be a great place for cell towers. Do you recall that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd like to say it was all my thinking, but it wasn't. It was actually Kai's and Bill Tebow, who was the manager down at Homestead at the time, kind of thinking out of the box. We had 176 acres of wetlands, and on that wetlands there was a old dilapidated Coast Guard facility. And so this was in the boom of, anything that is possible, let's try to make it into a condominium or make it into some kind of development, and you just couldn't do it there. And so how are we going to do that? And Bill Tebow came up with cell phones, and it was just a satellite dishes. It was a great idea, but the reason it went so high was not only the interest from those parties, and I think we had like 12 registered bidders that day, but the old thing, the next door neighbor. The next door neighbor was Ocean Reef, which is, of course, a very popular, very prestigious resort down in the Keys. And they didn't want it to do... They wanted to buy, basically, not to do anything on it, but just to provide a buffer. And they were the ones that were bidding against the cell phone companies and the cell phone specialists, and that's what it made to it go to 1.2. And it's just a very nice story to tell brokers and auctioneers that you really do need to work together. There's expertise on both ends, that you put your heads together and you can have a huge, huge success. It was for the GSA, the General Services Administration, and so it was a fantastic auction. Tell us how to get a hold of you, Steve. Anything in South Florida, you're the man to talk to. What's the contact information for you?
Well, the first thing is www.keys.com, K-E-Y-E-S. People pronounce it Keys, Keys, Yaves down here, but it's Keys.
Okay.
Keep your eyes on Keys.
Yeah.
That's the best way to find all of our information. And my email address is Stephen with the V, Reibel, R-E-I-B like boy, E-L, @Keys.com. That's the easiest, quickest way to get a hold of me, and we can provide you, anybody, with real estate expertise throughout South Florida and the nation because of our affiliation with the Realty Alliance, the 50 largest real estate companies in the country. So we're everywhere in the country through our network.
Steve, thank you for the call. Give my best to the Pappas family and all my friends at Keys. You have a great weekend.
You too, Doug. Thanks.
Take care.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
Okay, we are back. We have a caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Is this Amber?
It is.
Amber, well, thank you so much for calling in. Tell us who you are and who you work for and where you're located.
Okay, my name is Amber Chisholm. I work with Rowell Auctions located in Moultrie, Georgia. We're an auction company that specializes in land sales, and we also do a lot of auctions with local banks and banks all over the United States.
And what do you do, Amber? What is your position there?
My position is contract coordinator. I'm responsible with working with the purchaser and sellers at the close of an auction. I get them their offering contracts and work with them on getting them executed and transfer them over to the closing department.
Well, it's so important, your job. As a salesman, we can go out, and as an auctioneer, we get the great opportunity to perhaps get in front of people and talk to them, and as a salesman, we get to talk to buyers. But when it's all said and done, there's got to be a contract that there's got a pass title. Monies need to be moved. That's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of paperwork. And you do this very, very well. How long have you done this? Because you're very good at it.
Well, with Rowell, at the end of this month will be a year. But previously I had worked with a company over in Valdosta for about 4 years doing contracting.
Okay. Very, very good. Now, tell us, Rowell Auctions has been around for 75 years.
Yes, sir.
We
started in 1936.
1936. What kind of auctions are coming up?
Well, we've got one that's going to kick off September the 9th online, and it'll wrap up on the 20th. It's actually in Maine. We're very excited about it. It's we're actually doing it with Action Auctions, and it is a Sleepy Town Motel and Cottages. And then at the end of the month, on the 24th, we've got an on-site auction with 42 acres located here in Colquitt County. It's going to be 10 o'clock that morning on-site. We're real excited. We've got a bunch coming up. The end of September, we're going to do some more online auctions. It'll wrap up the beginning of October. We've got real estate. We've also got some construction equipment, guns, coins, collectibles, antiques. A full list we've got listed online at our website. It's www.rowellauctions.com. And if anybody has any questions, they can sure call us over at 1-800-323-8388.
Do that one more time. Give us the website and the telephone number. Just
yeah,
in
no
case
problem.
People
Our website is www.rowell, ROWELL, auctions, with an S on the end, .com. And our 1-800 number is 1-800-323-8388.
Fine. We've, as a firm, we've gone a long way, and it seems like recently we're starting to do a whole bunch with banks, and a lot of it online. Is this like a new thing, or when did all these internet auctions start taking place?
Well, we've been doing the internet auctions for a while. What we're really been transitioning into doing is merging together our own site as well as online, so where you can actually place bids online, and then there'll be a day in a central location where you can go on site and actually put in your bids. And we'll have members of our auction team that will be there to take bids, just so you can kind of be there on site as well.
So be able to talk to a staff member,
Exactly.
answer any last minute questions.
Yes, sir. And you can actually still be bidding from home if you so choose.
Right. And I think maybe that's the reason why these internet auctions have taken off, is because it costs money to travel, and a lot of times you need to be at other places. With RAL auctions, you can actually make a bid and then come back 2 days later and see where you stand and make another bid. You have the availability of doing it on your own time schedule.
Yes, sir. Yes, that's right.
Well, Amber, I want to thank you again. Contract coordinator is a very important role in any large auction firm. You do a great job. Give us the website and telephone number one more time, Amber.
Yeah, I encourage all the listeners to please go and check our website. It's www.rowellauctions.com. And if you have any questions on any particular properties, or if you've got some properties you'd like us to auction, give us a call at 1-800-323-8388.
Amber, thank you so much. You have a great weekend, and again, thank you for calling in on this Friday.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you.
All right, Amber. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Amber Chisholm from RAL Auctions. She's the contract coordinator. Many people don't realize that there needs to be very, very good people on the back end of these auctions and these sales that take care of the contracts, get a hold of the title companies, work with the buyers, work with the sellers, get all that communication in line, because if it may be very exciting to see the auctioneer chant and all the bidding and the rush of excitement, but if the contracts don't get done and it doesn't get closed, then it's all for nothing. So I want to do a great shout out for Amber. Fine job. Her and Gina Figueroa in the closing department do a fine job. This is the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. The mission statement for our show is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We thank all of our guests. We had guests from California, from Florida, from Georgia today. Want to thank them all. And we will be back next week, again, every Friday. And again, thank you for listening. Appreciate it.